In the middle of chapter 38 of book 1, we have an ablative absolute, bello sabino perfecto. So, perfected means it's completed. The Sabine War completed. Tarquinius, our nominative. Triumphant, describing Tarquinius. A triumph at Tarquin, reddited to Rome. Romam. Inde, so then or next, he feceted bellum. He made a war on the Priscus Latins, the ancient Latins. Ubi, where, nusquam, never, did it ad dimiciationem ventumes. So never, ventumes means came to a demarcation, which is a single fight. And we have this little split here of double genitive, universally re. So in the point in the university of this conquering, he didn't have one, didn't come to a big battle. That's what it means basically. And add singular oppidums, so he went to each single town by circumferending them, by going around and attacking each town singularly. He dominated, he tamed by armour, by arms, or used arms by his men were using arms. He tamed all the name of the Latins anyway, so basically in English he defeated all of them. Corniculum, looks like what a list. Vetus Ficulia, probably should have a capital V. Chimeria, Crustumeria, Amerolia, and Medulia, and Nomentum. Haec, these were de Priscus Latins. These were from the ancient Latins, or qui those who had defected, defecerated to the Latins. So you have the old Latins and the new Latins, it looks like. These were the capta oppida, the captured towns, or sometimes they call them cities. Pax Deinde est facta. I think everyone should understand that. Then peace was made or settled. Maiore, inde, another inde. So then, what do we got here? Incoata opera pacus. With the works of peace began. He was maiore in his animo. He was with more mind than he had been in gesseting the bella. So as much as he had been busy garroting war, now he was devoted more of his mind, now the peace had been incoated or began, so that the people, the populace, were non-quieta. They didn't get any more rest at domi, at home, than fuisset they had when they were militing, when they were fighting the war. Nam, for it also with a muro lapido, with a stone wall, the exordium cuis, the beginning of which in the Sabino War, the Sabine War, operis turbatim erat. So I'll just read the whole bit. The urbum qua nondum munirat cingere prepet. So he's preparing or doing to encircle to cingere with a rock wall the parts which had not been fortified of the urbum of the city, of which had been turbatum or confused or interrupted by the Sabine War when it was in its exordium state, at its beginning state. And the infima, the lowest part, the infima loca, lowest part urbis of the city, around the forum, Circa Forum and Alius, and other convalleys. These are valleys which were interjected by hills. So you had Valleys Hill, I guess there's like 7 hills in Rome. So these last parts of the former and these other valleys, because queer from the flat locuses, the flat plains, it was not easily to evehabant aquas. It was not easy to draw off water from these low places and valleys. So he, by the fasting, this is a point or sloping bit of cloacas, which are sewers. He dried them ductus by ducts into the Tiber, which is the river, in the area. Sometimes it can be sandy or whatever, but it looks like it's just the area itself. Add the Adam in Capitolo Jovis, which he had voverated in the Bello Sabino. So to the temple of Jove on the Capitol, which he had vowed in the Sabine War, which was now with his presagienting animo, with his prophesying mind, in the future, or on one time in the future, he must have made a vow that this area, which is an amplitudinal loci, he occupied it or began to build the fundaments, the foundations on this area, which he had vowed to Jupiter on the capital. So that's why he was draining all this stuff and creating sewers, so he could sick out the area, he could dry the area up and build a temple. And it looks like, it's an amplitudinum of size, and he began the fundamentals, what do you call them? Fundamentals, the foundation, I suppose we'd call it. Book 39, Io Tempore. In that time, in the Regia, in the palace, there was a prodigy. It's like an omen. In the visu and the eventu, so in the sight and the turnouts of events, it was a mirabile fuit. It was a marvellous sort of thing in sight and actual event. To a dormienti puro, this is present participle dative, to a boy who was sleeping, cui, to who, the nomen, fuit servio tullus. So 5 of these things are dative singulars. So to a sleeping boy of whose name was Servius Tullus, his caput, which is his head, ferunt, they say, or they relate it, or they tell it, was arsicening, it was burning, in the conspectu, in the sight, multorum, of many people. Plurimo iguitor, so iguitor. Therefore, then, there was a plurimo clemor, there was a lot of clamoring, a lot of shouting, inde, and to tante, to such a matter or circumstances, miraculum, such a miraculous looking thing, you might want to say auto, there arose this great cry, and which excited the regs. And I'm thinking that male and female be included in that because it's plural, and males dominate the females in Latin gender. So, and when, we'll take cum as when, a quidem, a certain one of the familiars of the household slaves, he was ferreting, it's imperfect with cum looks like, to the extinguishing or extinguishing, so he was bearing water to extinguish his fire on the boy's caput. He was retentum, he was retained or stopped by the regina, which is the queen, who would have been one of these, the regs. And sedato tumulto, so it looks like she sedated this disturbance. She is vetoicide, she is vetoed or stopped the purum, the boy, to move, or to be moved. So don't do anything to this boy who's on fire. Donec, until, sua spontane, of his own accord, he experectus asserted, until he woke up by himself. Mox, so soon or presently, cum somno, when sleep, looks like in flamem. Anyway, putting it at a bisade, anyway, so when he left sleep in the flames, that's a very short sentence, then, looks like Tanquil abducted her viro, she took her, led aside her viro, her husband, into secret, into a secluded place where it looks like only 2 of them could be, and she inquired. Vidan, when you see ne at the end of something, it means it's a question. Do you see, let's say vid's imperative, do you see hunc purum, this boy, the boy, quem whom, in tam humili cultu, cultu is like refinement or culture, it can also be in the place where you live, that edumus, which we are raising or rearing in so lower house, humbler house, you might want to say. Okay, so we'll have a daily dictionary. Cultus, fourth declension. Civilization, refinement, cultivation of land, habitation, that's the place you live. Even has polish and elegance in it. There's probably other things in different dictionaries, but I'd say it's the habitation. The humulus means lowly place where they live. And anyway, sciri licit. Licit means you may or you're permitted to. Sometimes it means although, but looks like one may be able to sciri, to know that hunc lumen, hunc, so he, we're talking about the boy, will be a lumen, a light, or a guiding light. Quondam, it's like olim, so at one time, sometimes in the past, it looks like it'll be a future here. So sometime in the future, to rebus nostris dubus, to our dubious rebuses. Our rebuses would be circumstances. So one may think that this young boy will be a light at some time in the future to our dubious future, and he will be a presidium, he will be protection of royal afflictions. When the royal family are afflicted or come into trouble, he'll be some sort of protection. Pro-Indi, sometimes they're used in comparing things, or henceforth, or so then, we'll take it as so then. A materium, this material can be lumber and stuff, but it could mean material. So it's a female thing. So material ingentus public privatum decora. So this will be some sort of huge decor, some huge honour, both publicly and privately. Looks like the boy will be the material, which will be huge honour. And omne indulgia nostra nutrimus. So we'll nutrimus him, we'll raise him up, give him his nutrients, so that he will be the matter of great honour for public and private. And we'll put all our indulgences, or all of our... Looks like they're going to devote a lot of their time and place to raising him for the public and private. Private would be their own family. The public would be the kings and queens, etc., and the rest of the people. Inde, purum liberum. Then the child, the boy, looks like when you use loco, can be used to be instead or in the place of. So he coeptum. The boy began haberi, to be considered a child in the place of for everyone maybe, and to be reared in those quibus artibus, in the certain arts of ingenia is it's a neuter usually. So to which looks like multiple ingenia, many types of characters are excited, and then we have ad cultum, and so we saw cultum was habitation for it. It's probably polish and elegance in this situation. So it looks like to which by these sort of arts the boy was rose, to these polish and elegance of great fortune, magna fortuna, go together. And so looks like everyone's expecting a lot of him. Yeah, the boy began to be looked upon by a son, that's what the Lobe says, probably by the kings and queens even. And we'll continue. Evenet, it happened, facilely, easily, because cordai is set to the dis, because this was the heart of the gods, to the gods. So this is what the gods were wishing, is the way they put it in English. And he vays it again, and it turned out, a bit like Evenet, so he vays it turned out that this Uvenus, vere, truly or really, was of indolus regia. Indolus, a bit like Ingentium, this is his character, was of a regia nature, of a royal nation. And when queritor, it was sought by Tarquinius, was seeking again a son-in-law, quisquam, anyone of the Roman youth was able to be compared, conferi means compared, ulla arte, by any art. So in English, looks like he was able to be compared greatly by any art or any measurement you have to any one of these other Roman youth. And so the Rex, the king, he despondent, promised in marriage, ei to him, suam filiam, his own daughter. So it looks like he ended up being the son-in-law. Hic can mean here or this. Qua cumque the cause, so whatever the cause, such honour illi to him is prohibited for us to credere. It's prohibited for us to believe that because such honour was on him, habitus is what he had, but whatever the cause, that he was natum from an ablative server. This prohibits us to believe that he was natum, born from a slave woman, and he himself, when he was small, had been a servicer. He had served, he had been a slave. So that's what this here could be. This, because there was such honour, and we've seen habitus before, so this prohibits us to believe that he was born from a slave, or that he was in fact a slave. Looks like he was a decent birth, in other words. And that's it for the day.